You're listening to WSFM LP 103.3 in Asheville, North Carolina. This is The Final Straw, and I'm William Goodenough. The show can also be heard on KWTF in Bodega Bay, California, KOWA in Olympia, Washington, WCRS in Columbus, Ohio, and on KWRK in Fairbanks, Alaska. The show will later be archived at thefinalstrawradio.noblogs.org, and you can email us with questions or suggestions at thefinalstrawradio@riseup.net. Also, if you are interested in rebroadcasting any episode or segment of the show, you are free to do so. Just send us an email so that we can say hello. If you care to, you can send us letters at The Final Straw, care of Asheville FM, 864 Haywood Road, Asheville, North Carolina, 28806. This show is brought to you by Firestorm Books and Coffee. Located at 610 Haywood Road, Firestorm Books and Coffee is a worker-owned cooperative in Asheville specializing in offbeat, underground, and independent literature. You can find a sample of Firestorm's catalog of books and zines, plus a full calendar of events at their website, firestorm.coop. This week on the show, we spoke with Iknu, an Indigenous activist who was involved in the Red Warrior Camp at Standing Rock against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Iknu is now affiliated with the Red Warrior Society and is traveling with comrades around the country on a tour to talk about their work, decolonization, and the struggle against ecocidal projects like DAPL. For the hour, Iknu and Bursts talk about the camps at Standing Rock, indigeneity, decolonization, the cases against water protectors Crow, Red Phone Fallas, Rattler, and others, prayer, direct action, and more. We had this conversation just after the eviction of the Soceity Oyate camp by poligs of various stripes. To find out more about the Red Warrior Society Ride for Resistance tour, check out facebook.com/Red Warrior Camp. But first, here are a few announcements. Building the Commune is a convergence organized to spread the tools and knowledge for self-defense and autonomy throughout our community in Durham, North Carolina. They are dedicated to building a culture and space for autonomous resistance against Trump and his regime, the state, and capitalism. This convergence is happening across 3 different venues in Durham: Pinhook, Arcana, and the Atomic Fern. The Welcoming Committee will set up at Pinhook at 117 West Main Street, Durham, North Carolina, with materials and programming distributed there. Childcare will be provided with drop-off and pickup at the Atomic Fern at 108 East Parish Street, Durham, North Carolina, and a free lunch will be provided at the Pinhook by Durham Food Not Bombs. To close out the day, an autonomous assembly will be held at the Pinhook from 4 to 5 p.m. The assembly will collectively create an agenda to be discussed, and they'd like to suggest that folks come prepared to discuss the following topics: announcements and projects to collaborate on, skills, resources, and spaces to be shared with one another, direct issues/crisis facing the community or concerns folks are feeling, and mutual aid networks like cop watches, community medical programs, rapid response call networks, and so on. Materials will be provided to help folks learn how they form affinity groups so that they may begin autonomously building these networks themselves. And all of this is to be next weekend, March 5th. And you can see an entire list of workshops and events at the website buildingthecommune.com. The folks who are still being held in custody in connection with water protection at Standing Rock are Katie or Crow Cloth, Morton County Correctional Center, 205 First Avenue Northwest, Mandan, North Dakota, 58554. Red Phone Fallas at 205 6th Street, Southeast Suite 201, Jamestown, North Dakota, 58401. Charles Scorch Jordan, right to Charles Jordan, Burleigh County Jail, P.O. Box 1416, Bismarck, North Dakota, 58502. And Michael Rattler Marcus at P.O. Box 1108, Washburn, North Dakota, 58577. For information and further ways to support these folks, you can get up with the Water Protector Legal Collective at waterprotectorlegal.org and the Water Protector Anti-Repression Crew on Facebook by searching their name.
Here's a really quick update about the Sable Trail Resistance. Last week we interviewed Carrie and Nico of Sable Trail Resistance. and they're organizing against the Sable Trail pipeline in the so-called southeastern U.S. that is slated to run through the states of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. Within a short period after the conversation, the two, Carrie and Nico, actually locked down inside of the tunnel dug under the Suwannee River in Florida to hamper the construction of the high-pressure gas pipeline and to demand the release of a revised environmental impact statement. So you can donate to their legal fund for these and other water protectors in the Southeast, and also just keep up to date and get involved yourself by visiting sabletrailresistance.wordpress.com/donate.
And finally, if you are in Asheville or the surrounding area, consider participating in the first ever Asheville Anarchist Book Fair. The dates for this event are May 5th through 7th and will include workshops, shows and dance parties, nature events, and a whole day of tabling of revolutionary and anarchist art and literature. Keep your eyes on acab2017.noblogs.org for the latest in news about the fair, and also use this website to submit ideas for workshops, speakers, or tabling. Hope to see you there. And now, here are some words from anarchist prisoner Shawn Swain.
What you say, what you say, what you say, what? We're caught like a ball!
I haven't spoken to my anarchist friends for a few days, and I'm angry with all of them. In fact, even when I call in my radio segments, things with bursts are a little tense, a little uncomfortable. We don't discuss the elephant in the room, or more accurately, the elephant in the Twitter sphere. So if you're an anarchist, and if you're a friend of mine, and if you haven't heard from me in a while, here's why. Not long ago, protests at a university in California turned violent and resulted in some property damage. In response, President Trump...
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
Yes, still can't say that without laughing. Let me try it again. In response, President Trump... well, just leave it in. In response to the students wilding out, the president issued a tweet where he attributed the violence and property damage to professional anarchists. Yes, professional anarchists. Did you know about this? There are professional anarchists. Nobody told me. I have all of these so-called anarchist friends, and no one let me know that we can get paid for this. I can only assume that they all left me in the dark about this so they could jump the line and get the job in front of me. And to me, that's really hurtful. I've been an anarchist for quite some time. I should think that if insurrection and rebellion are now paid positions, then I ought to be on the short list of anarchists who are giving up our amateur status. But do my anarchist friends let me know where I can get in line? No. All anarchists for themselves. Someone starts hiring anarchists, and suddenly we're all motivated by naked self-interests, scrambling for employment. I am so disappointed. I had to find out about a possible paid position as an anarchist from President Trump. Wow. So, even though I don't know exactly where to send it yet, I've been working on my resume. And I must say, I think it's pretty impressive, going all the way back through my work history. In high school, I worked at Kroger and spent most of my time hiding from the one-armed store manager in the recycled bottle bin, smoking cigarettes and eating Cheese Whiz and crackers appropriated off the shelves. In the Army, I got chlamydia from an exotic dancer named Daisy, who had a tattoo of Winnie the Pooh on the inside of her ankle. That was my major accomplishment in uniform. My term of service may have been so disruptive that it extended the Cold War for an additional 2 years. In fact, my work history, in the free world and in prison, screams my utter inability to be a productive contributor to any pro-capitalist program. I'm not fit to be anything but a professional anarchist. Now, in addition to that, prison officials insist that I'm monkey number 4 of the Army of the 12 Monkeys, and that I provoked and inspired an insurrection that tore apart one of their prisons. Far be it from me to urge deference to prison officials, but I think I should have some kind of insurrection cred, just from the fact that I'm the only anarchist they think could have done this to them. That alone should get me hired. Name anybody besides me whose ideas are so dangerous that government officials ban them, in writing, from arranging video postings on YouTube. Exactly.
This call is originating from an Ohio correctional facility and may be recorded and monitored.
So, I don't know who these other professional anarchists are or what their qualifications might be, but I'm quite skeptical that they are better prepared for the job than I am. I wonder how much they get paid. Do professional anarchists work by the hour, or do they get a set salary? Perhaps they get paid per item. You know, like so much for stuff like pulling fire alarms and maybe more for things like arson fires, or tipping over cop cars, or political assassinations. If professional anarchists rob banks on the clock, how much of the money do they turn over to the employer? Where do we punch the clock? Do we wear ski masks at the job interview? I don't need it now, but if I ever get out of prison, I'm going to need some medical and dental. So if this professional anarchist gig ever pans out for the long term, I expect a benefits package and an office, a nice one, a corner office with a secretary and a travel allowance. So, to all my anarchist friends out there, if you ever want to hear from me again, you better give me the contact info for this guy who does the hiring of professional anarchists. And stop blocking me out so you can weasel yourselves into these jobs. I think I deserve a fair shot at a job in the ski mask, machete, and Molotov market, and it's high time you stop running from black. This is prospective professional anarchist Shawn Swain from Warren Correction of Lebanon, Ohio. If you're getting paid to listen to me, you are the professional resistance.
You can write to Shawn Swain at Shawn Swain 243-205, Warren CI, P.O. Box 120, 5787 State Route 63, Lebanon, Ohio 45036. Updates on his situation and more writings by Shawn can be found at shawnswain.org.
We're speaking with Ignu, who is someone involved in the Red Warrior Camp at the Standing Rock protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Would you care to introduce yourself further for the audience?
Yeah, hello, greetings everybody. My name is Ignu, and I was part of Red Warrior Camp. Right now, I'm part of Red Warrior Society, and formerly known, of course, as Red Warrior Camp. We spent, as a camp, we spent several months in North Dakota in Standing Rock. Myself, I had the opportunity to be there for 5 months. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for taking time to have this conversation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, law enforcement from the local to the federal levels had promised to evict the camps at Standing Rock on February 22nd at 2 p.m. What have you heard about what's been happening since then?
Well, the last news that I have about the camp is yesterday was the deadline for people to leave the camp. A lot of people already left the camp. Actually, I just want to say that I'm not at the camp at this moment. But at the same time, there is a lot of family, people that we call family and friends there that are still holding it down until today. The last news that I have is a lot of people left the camp, but there is a small group of really committed people that are willing to stay there and make a last statement, For what I know, a lot of structures have been set on fire. The purpose of that, I don't know, but I will tell you something is right now, the camp has been raided. The camp that was called Soceity, and also not only that, the Rosebud camp, the Chicago camp, the other camp across the river. It was 3 hours ago. The last news that I have of the camp is that camp is being raided right now. So I'm really concerned a lot about my friends and family there. But I know there is a lot of committed people there. This small core group of strong committed people that are willing to hold the camp and do what they have to do. And if that entails getting arrested, they're willing to go through all of that. They just want to show their presence there, show they're not afraid, show the courage that they have, and they're willing to make a last statement, hold their ground in their own way.
So you mentioned a couple of different camps in there. Can you talk about what the model of camps in the struggle against DAPL is? In particular, what goes on via the Red Warrior Camp and how do you all organize versus what the what was the one that you just mentioned? There was the
Chicago Rosebud Camp.
the Rosebud Camp, for instance.
Hmm. Well, I don't know. The way that the camp was organized. Of course, like at one point we have this camp that was called the Soceity Shakowin camp, and that camp through the times has changed different names. You know, it was a moment that it was Soceity Shakowin for the most part of the struggle there. Then the camp changed names to All Nations Camp, and right now the name of the camp is Soceity or Yate Camp. You know, so it's like so it was changing name according to the circumstances and according to the people that is supporting, you know, and leading the struggle there during those moments, you know. As a Red Warrior camp, we have a strong presence there for several months, since the beginning of September until December, that officially as a Red Warrior, we released a statement saying that we were leaving the area. Saying that, you know, we as a camp, we officially leave the camp. We officially left the camp in December, but a lot of our Red Warrior family, you know, and fellow water protectors stay there until today, you know, and you know, we're supporting them in any way possible where we can, in our prayers, in our thoughts, in our hearts, you know. But Red Warrior Camp was one of the camps inside this big camp. Through the months and through all the time that Standing Rock was fighting to protect the water, we have different camps, you know, different people starting and forming their own camps according to their own tribal affiliations, you know, according to their own regions where the people are coming from. And so one of those camps was the camp across the Missouri River, and it was called the Rosebud Camp or the Chicago Camp, because like mostly all the people that were camping there or are camping there are members of the Rosebud Reservation, you know. So that's kind of like a little bit the way the camps were organizing inside the main camp. But with the time, I talking about like a couple of months ago, with the time the camp went to different changes. You know, a lot of people left the camp, you know, and a small but dedicated core group of like water protectors or warriors stay there until today, you know. And at the beginning it was different camps. I think at the end, like since 2 months ago, you know, the whole camp consolidated, or Soceity Shakowin camp consolidated into one main camp, you know. So and everybody collaborating and supporting each other until today. Mm-hmm.
And can you talk a little bit about within Indigenous struggle? Can you talk about the role of warrior societies? Because you said that you were part of Red Warrior Camp and now a part of Red Warrior Society.
Yeah. Well, Red Warrior societies are a really important part of what we call like indigenous resistance or indigenous struggle, you know. And this whole concept, you know, that I want to explain in a little bit, but it's deeper. It goes deeper than that, you know. It's this whole concept of what it means to be a warrior, you know, what it means to be a warrior for the people, what it means to be an indigenous warrior, you know. So there is people that will give you different explanations, different approaches to this, you know. But like we as a Red Warrior Camp, and in the way that we see it, is like a warrior is a person like rooted in their own culture and tradition, but also a warrior is there to protect and defend not only the things, like not only the people, but the things that were considered precious and the things that we consider sacred, you know. A warrior, you know, a warrior is a person that prepares him or herself or themselves for battle, you know, in different aspects. You know, when I say battle, I'm not only talking about in the physical aspect. I also talk about emotional aspect, spiritual aspects. You know, you can be a warrior without the proper training. You know, and without the proper training, I'm talking about like self-defense, about you know, different ways to engage in basically in a work or protecting what we consider precious and what we consider sacred. Self-defense is one of those. You know, and this is only talking about the physical aspect of that. You know, the other aspects like we always have in mind and we always have really clear is like you can be a warrior if you don't have the proper teachings. You know, and by teachings, I'm talking about traditions. I'm talking about like things that were passed to us as indigenous people by our grandparents, by our ancestors. Every single nation, according to their own way of being, according to their own traditions, their own teachings, their own like cultures. You know, so So a warrior in the way that we see it encompass different aspects, physical aspects, like I was saying before, self-defense, like preparing your body, preparing yourself for like a for a lot of like physical activity, and why not for action, why not for even for battle, but the other aspect of that is the spiritual aspect, the mental aspect, the emotional aspect, and what it means to be a warrior. Sometimes like people think like warriors are needed in times of war or in times of battle, but like in the way that we see it, warriors are needed all the time. So, and warrior societies are really important, because like as a way like as a ways of warriors to organize themselves, create their own societies, have their own space to plan and to strategize, to practice their own ceremonies, and to basically reclaim that warrior spirit that is present in every single indigenous nation and are part of our own history. That warrior spirit like was passed to us since the time of our ancestors, way before them, since the beginning of time, in the way that we see it. And when I'm talking about that warrior spirit, is that spirit that protects, is that spirit that defends, is that spirit that fight back and stand up and against like all these things that are trying to destroy us, as indigenous people, and the things that are trying to destroy all those things that are sacred for us.
I just had a brain fart. Give me just a second.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about the importance of, in terms of the Red Warrior Society and other groups that have engaged around the struggle against the Black Snake and against DAPL, what the role and the importance of direct action space that's separate from Standing Rock is? Like why it's so important to keep those two as distinctive?
Are you talking about like direct action and what else? Sorry.
Yeah, direct action. Like basically the question that I had asked initially written in here, but I just tried to riff off of it was, can you talk about why the Red Warrior camp thought that having a direct action space as separate from Standing Rock was important?
Yeah.
Or that might be a misframing.
Right. No, I understand the question. I just wanna clarify, like as a Red Warrior camp, we always have been in support of the standing of Standing Rock. We always have been part when we were there, when we had a physical presence there. We were like one of the camps that were like putting together a lot of actions. Direct action in particular. Going to the front lines, facing the cops. Making sure like we can stop construction, making sure that we can stop work. And I feel like when we talk about Red Warrior camp, Red Warrior camp was a direct action camp. But like I just want to clarify something really important, because like during the time that we were there, it was this big argument in between like what it means to be a camp that engage in prayer and in ceremony. And as indigenous people, we put a lot of value on those things, and what it means to be a camp engaged in direct action. A lot of people talk about Red Warrior camp as a camp that the only purpose for us was to like be there and put together these kind of actions. But I just want to say, like, prayer and ceremony for us was really important too. But like as a Red Warrior camp and as a people that like engage in the action, there is something that we always have been clear since the beginning. Prayer for us is half of the way where we meet our ancestors. The other half is action. Prayer and action together is what it makes a good warrior. Prayer and action together is what it makes a good action. Prayers and action together, is the way that we always walk and we always like view this struggle, and the way that we always fight this struggle. So as a camp since the very beginning, we were like we were really clear about two things. We were always aware that as a camp we believe in diversity of tactics, and as a camp we believe in direct action, and as a camp also we believe in prayer and ceremony. All those things together is what it makes a successful like land defender, a successful wild protector, a successful warrior. So like direct action was an intrinsic part of who we are. But I just want to clarify that as not only Red Warrior camp was a camp engaging in direct action. During the time that we were there and with the most of the struggle of the struggle, a lot of camps, and a lot of people, a lot of individuals engaged in direct action, And as a Red Warrior camp, we always support the people willing to do that. And I will believe in this struggle, during the time that the struggle was like the duration of the struggle, we always believe in the importance of prayer and ceremony, and we always were in agreement of that. Prayer and ceremony as indigenous people is what give us courage, it was give us strength, it was keep us rooted, it was give us our own identity, and and protection also. But also the take action is the other part of that. Those things together, it makes us like powerful. Mm-hmm.
So, Iknu, right now you're involved and engaged with a Report Back and Resistance Ride tour around different places to talk about the Red Warrior Camp and the Red Warrior
Mm-hmm.
Society. What sort of stuff are you talking about on the tour, and where are you going to be stopping, and how has the response and the audience has been?
Yeah, well, we were like touring all over the East Coast. Right now we're here in Florida. We're planning to go to other places after here. The the purpose of the caravan, the East Coast tour that we call it, because we have like some of our family touring with me the East Coast, but we have the other side of our family doing the same thing in the West Coast, and going to the Southwest also. I think the purpose of this tour has been like really clear for us. At the beginning, like we have a different idea, but like seeing how the struggle is changing and the different difficulties like the warriors are facing right now until today, like we don't know for sure what is going to be the end of all of this, but we believe like it's important to approach different communities, impacted communities, especially indigenous communities, with this message of resistance and strength. But like seeing all how the things are playing right now, like the message is like evolving at the same time too. First, well, we want to like share this message that is really important for us to people to know that Standing Rock is really important. And all the time that Standing Rock and the people were like fighting there was really important, all the support and the visibility that Standing Rock was having. But Standing Rock is just one moment in what we call indigenous resistance. Standing Rock is just one place, and Standing Rock is not the end, but also Standing Rock is not the beginning. This is gonna keep moving forward no matter what. And it's also we have to bring this message that the front lines are everywhere. Not only Standing Rock. Standing Rock is really important, and we keep asking people to support Standing Rock, especially to support the legal defense, but at the same time to realize, like all over the land, all over what people call so-called the U.S. and Canada, Mexico, and all over Turtle Island, indigenous people have been fighting, way before Standing Rock, in places like Black Mesa, places like so-called Arizona, New Mexico, the Nez Apache people are still like protecting their land, the different encampments that have been existing in different areas, we have the community of Black Mesa, Big Mountain, resisting for the location for 40 years. So all over the land, there is like different communities fighting different issues, So Standing Rock is not the only one, but Standing Rock, of course, change a different ways to view the struggle, and give us a sense, a deeper sense of unity of solidarity, of indigenous resistance, So like we're trying to convey that message to every single community that we're going, because we see that Standing Rock is only one pipeline, there is pipelines all over the land. Right now here in Florida we have the Sable pipeline, and we have the opportunity today to be here with Seminole people, with Seminole relatives, and talk a little bit about that, what it means, this struggle, and how we can move forward, I know that, like I said before, like this struggle is Standing Rock is not the end, and Standing Rock is not the beginning, but Standing Rock is really important. For here, I think this is going to move forward. There is people during the whole time in the Standing Rock that had the opportunity to have a better understanding of the take action, and self-defense, and also have a better understanding that the ways how this government, an illegal government that's indigenous people, we don't recognize, the means that they're willing to use, the violence that they're ready to inflict on people, in complete disregard of indigenous people and indigenous body safety, So there is There's new realizations all over the time, and people understanding in a deeper way what it means the struggle, but also what it means repression and what it means violence coming from the colonial powers.
This is Asheville FM, and you're listening to The Final Straw. This is my conversation with Iknu, a member of the Red Warrior Society, about his tour talking about resistance to DAPL in North Dakota, as well as Indigenous struggle against ecocidal pipeline projects. So for some listeners hearing that you're speaking on behalf of Indigenous struggle at Standing Rock with an accented English that someone might place from a Spanish-speaking majority country, can you talk about your scope of indigeneity that you're addressing?
Yeah, when we talk, of course, this is really simple, and this is part of the constructing your own notions of what it means to be indigenous people, what it means to be people of the land, what it means to be native, because honestly, I consider myself native. I always say I'm native, but not American, So, and this is really important to understand, and understand also the political situations of a lot of people and the way that we as indigenous people, coming from other homelands, other territories, we as a displaced indigenous people have been labeled, the kind of like names and in the kind of ways that the people and this government have been calling us for a long time. First, I'm not original from Turtle Island, and I always clear to with everybody about that, I know from this continent. I came from South America. I came from this country called Peru. But even that, I don't even recognize that country as my country. I came from a people. I came from one of the many indigenous nations of the Amazon Basin region of this place called Peru. The name of my nation is the Yagua Nation. My clan is the Yaparia clan, the Red Macau clan. But the question is, what I'm doing here in the United States, right? Well, the same reason that a lot of people coming from south of the colonial border are also here. A lot of us, we moved to this country as a political refugee. A lot of us, we moved to this country as migrant folks, as a displaced folks. Civil war, political turmoil, violence, poverty, the fact like the United States interventions in our homelands, it's something that's really clear, and it's something like, a lot of people don't even think about it. Nobody wants to leave their own homeland. Some of us, we've been displaced by violence, and the fact that we are here in this country, the country responsible for the violence in our homelands, a lot of the civil wars, a lot of the political turmoil in South America has been caused by U.S. intervention, has been for massacres have been committed against indigenous people with guns and with money and with training coming from the United States. You probably hear about the School of the Americas, right?
Yeah.
So that's a reality, in every single Latino country, we see the same phenomenon reproducing during the 80s, during the 90s, and even today. Every time there is a civil war, every time there is political turmoil, every time there is two factions fighting together, the ones that always get trapped in the middle, for the most part, are indigenous tribes, indigenous nations, indigenous people. Because as indigenous people, we know better that we know better than anyone that taking sides will be the end of us. We, as indigenous people, we love our own self-determination, autonomy, and self-governance. Something that even until today we always carry really close to us. Really, it's really important for us. And also I wanna emphasize like a lot of the people that came from south of the colonial border, are also indigenous people. Are also people that belong to different indigenous nations. From Mexico to what we call South America, from what we call Central America, and that's something as a Red Warrior camp we always have in mind since the very beginning. We always have been really intentional about that. We don't believe in these like political borders. We don't believe in these colonial borders that separate our people. We don't believe in the fact like a border a border in the southwest between Mexico and the United States. divide us as people, or divide us as nations, or divide us as cultures. Also, we rely on our traditions. As indigenous people, we always have been migrated. We always have been moving. We always have been doing that, for multiple reasons, for trading, exchanging information, for ceremonies, for festivities, to connect with other indigenous nations, to different aspects of life, So now in the 21st century, we have all these all these borders completely defined, and enforced in the in the worst way possible, So a lot of our people that are coming from the south, have been called what? Latinos, Hispanics, illegals, undocumented, aliens, multiple names, when in reality, I know Latino, I know Hispanic, I know Peruvian, I know American, I'm a Yawa man, an indigenous person from the Yawa nation. That's who I am. That's my identity. But you know what? Also, as an indigenous person, I relate with the struggle and the issues of other indigenous folks. These folks that sometimes, for the most part, we call migrant folks. I believe in migrant justice. I believe in migrant rights. But at the same time, I view those people as my people, as indigenous folks coming from other homelands, people that have been displaced for multiple reasons, people that are moving to this country, because sometimes it's the only way to be safe. Sometimes it's the only way to provide for your family. And that's something like I mentioned it before. Red Warrior Camp completely understands since the very beginning. So in this camp, the Soceity Shakowin camp, through the time of the camp, we have different camps, and these camps were forming or were creating according to people's own tribal affiliations, and that was really good, I don't criticize that. I completely agree with that. As indigenous people, you want to be with your own people. You want to be for people from your own tribe and your own nation. You want to be with people you want to be people that are coming from your same homeland, from your same geographical region. So at one point we have, for example, the Southwest camp, that it was mostly Dene people living in that camp. We have other camp called the Pueblo camp, that it was Pueblo and Zuni people from the so-called New Mexico. We have the Haudenosaunee camp, that it was the people from the Six Nations from Upper New York and so-called Canada. We have the Native Hawaiian camp, that was one of the a camp mostly for Native Hawaiian people coming from the islands, from Hawaii. A lot of people don't even think about that. A lot of people don't even know that there is indigenous people in Hawaii. There is indigenous people too, and these people also understand this concept. No matter what, whatever you walk in this hemisphere, from the north to the south, from the continent to the islands, you are walking on indigenous land. No matter how many times we try to change the names of the land, no matter what, how many times we want to assign countries to specific regions of this land. For what I care, and for my Red Warrior family care, all this hemisphere is an indigenous hemisphere. All this land from the north to the south is indigenous land. So as a Red Warrior camp, we always understand that. That's why, when we start the camp, we didn't gathering together according to our own tribal affiliations. We start gathering together, coming together according to our relationships that we established way before Standing Rock. So when we formed the Red Warrior Camp, we were people that we already know each other, that we already have a relationship. So we have people fighting for for example, people that were fighting Tarzans, people that were fighting pipelines before that, people that were fighting fracking, uranium, people that were fighting people that were engaging in land rights, in treaty rights, in water rights, people that were doing a lot of migrant justice, different people fighting different issues, we already know we have a relationship between each other. But the uniqueness about Red Warrior Camp is in our camp, we have 27 different, we have representing 27 different indigenous nations from 10 different countries from all over the hemisphere, So that was the uniqueness and the beauty about Red Warrior Camp, having all these indigenous people from all over the hemisphere, from the north to the south, was a really powerful thing to see, to experience, to live, and also recognize, like, even in what we call the United States and what we call Mexico, there is a border that is split and divide communities in half, and when I'm talking about communities, I'm talking about indigenous nations that are divided by this border. For example, like the Tohono O'odham Nation is one of those, like the Yaqui Nation is one of those, the Lipan Apache Nation is another one, and the Kikapus, and different nations all over the colonial borders of Mexico and Canada with the United States. And the reality is like, for example, the Tohono O'odham Nation, a nation that is divided by this border. They have communities living in the American side, in so-called Arizona, and they have communities living in the Mexican side, in so-called Sonora. And every time that their people in the Mexican side is trying to cross the border to visit their families, their relatives in the American side, to go to the other side, to the American side, for ceremonies, for festivities, for multiple reasons. Every time that these people are trying to do that, they harass, they are being detained, they have been called illegals, they have been like I mentioned before, harassed by the border patrol, and by ICE, and that's something that really blows my mind, because like we're telling indigenous people that they can cross their own land, the land that the land that is there, and the land that they have been living there since the beginning of time, according to their own stories. So it's really blown my mind how ironic that I can be, and how entitled is this government, to basically decide who is indigenous and who is not, So it's a little bit about my feelings about that, and the feelings of a lot of my Red Warrior family about that, Yeah, I have a strong accent, and the reality is like my accent is part of my identity, I shouldn't be speaking English. I shouldn't be speaking Spanish. I should be speaking my own indigenous language. Colonization, and a product of colonization too. And colonization is violence. Colonization is not seen from the past. Genocide is not a scene from the past. Those things are an ongoing process that's happening right now. The fact that we have borders, the fact that our indigenous people coming from the south have been treated like criminals, have been detained, have been like separate as people, as communities, is one more proof that these things are happening right now, and it never ends.
Jumping back to DAPL and the resistance there against that, on February 4th, Crow, a.k.a. Katie Cloth, was assaulted and arrested by Bureau of Indian Affairs officers and is facing some charges. Folks may be familiar from the Final Straw, or who are familiar with the Final Straw radio, may remember that we talked to Crow a few years back while she was resisting mining in the Pinocchio Hills in northern Wisconsin in 2013, and her subsequent incarceration for eco-defense. Can you talk about Crow a little bit and who she is and what she's facing?
Yeah. Well, Crow, what can I say about Crow? Like Crow was one of the first in the way that we honor our own allies, our own comrades, that are not indigenous, majority of them, for the most part, in Red Warrior Camp, we have a really amazing and dedicated group of supporters, people that we honor in our own way, people that we respect, and yeah, people that were white folks basically helping us, and that's something like it's really interesting, and it's something that I want to mention it because to understand a little bit about the work that Crow was doing inside the camp and the way that they were supported is really important, So like as a Red Warrior camp, our camp was a camp designed for indigenous people, but also at the same time, we have other camps, and we always were really, really vocal, and we're really open about that. Another camp that we call the Allied Camp, and that was the camp for all these people that are not indigenous, that don't identify as indigenous people, that were coming to support us, and also a lot of these people are relationships that we have from before too, people that have been working in the same issues that we as indigenous people were working at that time, and people that we already know, and people that we trust, and thanks to them, because a lot of these comrades, a lot of these like allies, a lot of these accomplices were engaging in a lot of they were doing a lot of things that was really important for us, for them to take care, so we can have the time to plan and strategize and to put all these kind of actions, that we were like we were throwing all the time that we were there. So a lot of these people were supporting us in different ways, like cooking, for example, building structures, making sure like the camp and is running in the way that we needed at the moment, when we have a presence in Standing Rock. So Crow was one of the first allies, one of the first accomplices that answered to that call of support and that call for bodies to go to the front line, to support the struggle for water, the struggle for people, the struggle for land. I remember I met Crow the first week that I arrived at the camp. And they always cause a really good impression on me. With the time, I have the opportunity to establish a friendship with Crow, a really good friendship. To be honest, I always respect Crow for their knowledge, for their skills, for their capacity to support in different ways in strategy, and support in different ways in the planning of different actions, So really at this point, it really hurt me, to see the things that they're going through right now. Like you mentioned it before, they have been arrested, by BIA police, and for what I know, it's like has been like really hard to release them. To pay, because there is even when like Red Water Camp was willing to pay for the bail so we can have Crow out of jail, even when we didn't once, they completely
refused to release.
They completely they're completely opposed to that. They didn't want to release, and I don't think they want to release Crow until today, even when there is money available for that, even when the resources are there to have Crow walking out of jail at this very moment. So that's something like as a Red Warrior camp and as a Red Warrior society now, like we're facing, because in our hearts and it's our desire to support this person that has been like a really good ally to us, a really good comrade to us, So what I know, for what I know, and I don't know too much about that. Correct me if I'm wrong, because it's something like I didn't talk too much with Crow about, but I know like in the state of Wisconsin. For actions that happened in the past, they're facing like from 5 to 10 years, in prison. That's a reality that became really clear right now. And for what I know, the state of North Dakota is planning to extradite Crow to Wisconsin so they can face those charges there. And in the way that I see it, to be honest, is like this is a personal vendetta, basically. Crow has been one of those persons that during the time that we were there, they always was in the front line next to us, making sure that the people are protected, making sure like the actions can happen and we can stop construction and we can stop this destruction. So in the way that I see it, Crow is they're making Crow pay the scapegoat not only of their own actions but the actions of many people, including our camps. So but like we're praying for Crow. We're like right now trying to make anything possible to get them out of jail, But like the situation is getting hard and hard, harder and harder. And but we're still working on that. I know people are talking to lawyers right now, making sure like what else we can do. That's the question. What else we can do? Saying that, I'm really grateful to Crow, for their bravery. For their support, for their friendship, and for the fact, like, even knowing the consequences of their actions, even knowing, like, this can be really damaging, in some ways for them, they put aside that fear, they put aside those thoughts, in a really courageous way, and showing a lot of solidarity. They were there day and night supporting us, and basically, facing all those things that we as Indigenous people at the moment were facing there too,
Yeah. And I wonder if you could talk about some of the other folks that are facing some serious charges around Standing Rock. Some of the names that come to my mind are Red Phone Fallas, who faces firearms in the possession of a felon charges, as well as 5 Indigenous men facing a federal grand jury, including Angry Bird, a.k.a. James White, and Rattler, a.k.a. Michael Marcus. What's up with their cases, and how can folks show solidarity to them?
This is really important to know, especially because the people that you mentioned right now, they need a lot of support. You know, we have our sister Red Phone that was arrested and was charged with like manslaughter. Right now, she's in federal prison. She's facing 25 years in jail. You know, there is like a Facebook page for people that want to support, and there is in that Facebook page, you know, there is ways to support Red Phone, and I ask people in a good way to support this sister because this is the moment that she needs a lot of support. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of people talk of different things about Red Phone. You know, the only thing that I see about this sister, it was a really committed sister, willing to protect her people in the front line, willing to protect her people from the violence coming from the police. You know, I think like Red Phone has been made the scapegoat of the whole struggle, of the whole movement. And really, that's in the same way that they're like really hard on Crow right now. They have been in the same way to Sister Red Phone. Also, you mentioned these two brothers that are facing like I've seen 3 to 5 years in jail. You know, grand juries are happening right now. Subpoenas are happening right now. I know that there is 4 other brothers have been indicted right now. So those things are more and more are becoming a reality. You know, there is like I see like Standing Rock as a physical place. You know, as an store in a physical place, in a camp. We might probably, I don't know, and I don't want to say that this is going to happen, but we might see probably the end of that. But the struggle never ends. You know, right now, after all of this, there's the other struggle that is going to start right now. It's already started, and that's the legal battle, the legal struggle. You know, many of us, you know, we got to go back to North Dakota and face courts and face trials. You know, many of us for our actions. You know, in protection of the water, in protection of the people. You know, we're charging with like serious felonies. You know, so myself, I gotta go back. I don't know exactly my court day. My court day was supposed to be in February. You know, but has been moved no early than June. And the reason why, you know, I don't know exactly, but you know what? I have some feeling that these people are trying to be like single cases in everyone that has been detained and arrested, you know. And of course, you know, there is people right now that are facing serious charges, and there is people that are facing a lot of years in jail, you know. And the best way to support that is like keep supporting Standing Rock, do it, but do it in a way that is gonna help the people that are facing those charges, and it's gonna help the people that are facing many years in jail. Support the legal defense. Keep donating to that, because one struggle is over, but the other one is barely starting. I'm talking about the legal battle, and like you mentioned a few names before and a few relatives, but like for what I know, there is more than it's close to 700 people that gotta go and face all these different charges and trials and courts and all that. So, also in the way that I see it, you know, these people, you know, the people that are in jail right now, you know, or facing many years in jail, they're not that different than the same people that were fighting to protect the land years ago. You know, people that have been accused as terrorists. They have been labeled criminals. You know, they have been labeled like bandits and multiple things. But you know what? They're also political prisoners. They're also prisoners of war right now, and they deserve that status, and they deserve the support that we granted to these people that are in jail for like fighting for communities, that are fighting for justice, that are fighting for a better future, not only for us but for the children. This struggle is for the future generation. This struggle is for all things sacred. So that's our people in jail. They also are POW. They also are political prisoners. Mm-hmm.
So for folks that would like to, I am going to get the last question, but for folks that would like to find out if the speaking tour that y'all are on, the Report Back and Resistance ride, if that caravan's going to be coming through their areas, how can they find out? Where do they look?
Well, you can always go to a Red Warrior Society webpage or Red Warrior Society Facebook page, and we're trying to update the tour and the places that we're going to be, pretty frequently. And from here, we're planning to go to Portland, Oregon, to the other side of the country. It sounds kind of like a long drive. It's gonna be a long trip, but like we have people that are waiting for us there. We have indigenous relatives that are waiting for us there, and from there we're planning to go to Texas and in a way support the other encampment there. There is people fighting a pipeline in Texas, in the Trans-Pecos camp. So we're planning to go there and see how we can support that struggle also there. So yeah, check the Facebook page, check the website, Red Warrior Society website and Facebook page. There is a lot of info there about the tour, and not only about this tour, but about different events that are really important for Red Warrior.
And finally, I guess in the last 8 minutes, I'd love to hear what you have to say about the term of decolonization. In recent years, the phrase decolonization, I've been hearing it more and more, especially it's been coming to dialogue around resisting huge ecocidal projects like Keystone XL and the DAPL. Can you talk about further what decolonization means to you and its importance in the survival of humanity and the survival of the earth on which we live?
Yeah. I can talk a little bit about that because I have so many views about decolonization. The first part of that, I think people are really easy to throw decolonization all the time and to talk about decolonization. It's always it became now these days kind of cliche, to even say that, because people have different you probably hear about decolonize yoga, decolonize your food, decolonize this, decolonize that, but I don't think people really understand what decolonization means, and what is people don't understand that decolonization, it's important, but there is other things that are really important. And for example, if the only thing that you talk about is decolonization, if the only thing that you're doing is decolonizing yourself, but you never engage in anti-colonial struggle, your decolonization is useless. And if you're a white person, your decolonization by itself is pretty racist too. Decolonization is a personal thing. Anti-colonial struggle is the active part of that. If the only thing, like I said before, the only thing you're doing is decolonizing yourself, but you don't have any relationship with indigenous people in the place that you are occupying. You don't support any of the indigenous people in your own local region. You don't engage in anti-colonial struggle. You don't engage in land defense. Your decolonization is useless. It's for nothing. Decolonization and anti-colonial struggle together are a powerful thing, especially for indigenous folks, So, I don't know, I have so many mixed feelings about decolonization. I know what is decolonization. I apply that in my life all the time, but at the same time, I believe the other part of that, engaging in what we call the anti-colonial struggle, engaging in supporting what we call indigenous resistance is the other half of that. Decolonization is a passive thing. Anti-colonial struggle is an active thing in different ways, in the way that I see it. Decolonization is a personal thing. Anti-colonial struggle is a communal thing. But nevertheless, I encourage everybody to find the ways to decolonize themselves in a good way. But always remember, support what we call anti-colonial struggle, support indigenous struggle, support indigenous resistance.
Well, Ignis, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. It's been awesome. So I wish you luck and health and solidarity.
Thank you so much, and solidarity and strength to everybody, every people there fighting, for justice, fighting for people, fighting for land, fighting for water, fighting for things sacred. Thank you.
You're listening to WSFM LP 103.3 in Asheville, North Carolina. This is The Final Straw, and I'm William Goodenough. The show will later be archived at thefinalstrawradio.noblogs.org, and you can email us with questions or suggestions at thefinalstrawradio@riseup.net.